Talk It Up with Tyson, Jay Lamar, and Simone. Talk It Up.
Hey, y'all, welcome to another exciting episode of Talk It Up. This episode, of course, we have all of our segments on today's show, and we have an amazing interview with one of the stars of Arnold's Caribbean Pizza a little bit later on in the show. But first, let's go ahead and jump into some of the hottest topics that are sizzling out here in these streets with a little street talk. So what I want to bring to y'all right now, we talk about it fairly often on the show, the 2020 movement, Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, that whole thing. Well, here we go back to Minneapolis. Minnesota yet again. One person was injured. I'm sorry, 3 people were injured. One person was killed with someone someone drove through a Black Lives Matter protest. Now, they were protesting in Minneapolis because of the fatal shooting of another unarmed black man. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. Dwayne Wright is his name. And that's who they were, standing up for his rights and everything, trying to get charges held against the police officer that fatally killed him. And in the middle of this, in comes this erratic driver that kills someone and injures 3 other people, one of which was a police officer. What do you think about this ongoing attack against Black lives in this country, especially in Minneapolis?
Well, I think it's one of those situations where people are doing the same thing that they've seen other people do. I don't remember what that's called, where people, they see...
Monkey see, monkey do kind of, basically.
Monkey do.
Yeah.
Right, the driving through the crowd. We've seen that happen quite a few times, unfortunately. But it sucks because everybody is there protesting for Black lives, and here someone goes. They don't know who the guy is yet.
They don't know who the individual is just yet.
Yeah, so... One
but
life was
that
lost,
that could change. But right now, they're still under investigation.
Yeah.
It's such a scary thing because to think about a protest, each of us, participated in some type of protest in 2020 for Black Lives Matter, and majority of the protests that we experienced were peaceful. And to think that if you're peacefully protesting, and then for somebody who is not agreeing with the protest, but to try and kill you in the midst of the protest is so strange. And just to think of it, in 2020. When I was protesting, my mind was not really focused on any other civilian trying to kill me or do anything to me.
Right.
My mind was focused on what the police were trying to do because I was in crowds where they were shooting rubber bullets into the crowds. So now to think about when you protest, not only are you going up against the police, but now you're going up against other civilians who may not agree with your protest. And that's scary. And it's sad to see that happened in Minneapolis again, amongst so many other things that happened in Minneapolis over the past year.
Yeah. So what I want to bring to you, since you brought this up, since the George Floyd protests began last year, there have been 104 people, or 104 times that a car has driven through a protest and injured someone. 104 times.
Wow.
And it's just because everybody there is vulnerable. Like you're saying, nobody is thinking about watching their back to make sure, a car is driving through. Everyone is there honestly protesting for Black lives, and people know that. That's what's so scary and sad about it.
It's interesting that you mentioned vulnerability because you do think about it, when you're protesting, you don't have the protection that you would normally have. If you were walking down the street, and police were patrolling the area, then you're kind of protected. But in a protest, you're not really protected by anybody. You're out in the streets by yourself, especially when you're going against the government or going against the police. You're by yourself.
Yeah, the thing that's even scarier when you really add everything up, everything that you all have said is completely true. So it's like when you think about it, not only if you're protesting and you're protesting on the side of Black Lives Matter, okay, not only do you have to worry about the police, not only do you have to worry about if they decide to deploy the National Guard because, a Black life is such a threat that we have to bring in the National Guard to protect people from us. So if that happens, you now have to worry about the military getting involved. But then you have to also worry about these idiotic people that want to drive through crowds because they disagree with what you're protesting in the first place. So it's like from every direction you're getting it. Something else that I wanted to bring out. Yes, they were standing up for Dwayne Wright, who was fatally shot. But just weeks prior to that, they were also standing up for Winston Smith Jr., who was a 32-year-old who was fatally shot in Minneapolis as well. So I don't know what's popping up. Well, actually, we do know what's popping in Minneapolis. It's these guns. But y'all need to get it together, because if we do another story about it's like every single time we sit down at this table, once a week, we're talking about Minneapolis.
Yep.
It's bad enough that this is going on and on and on, but the same city too, like, get
Yeah.
it together. And I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like the 1960s. Remember how in our history books, and if you study African American history, and they talked about in the 60s how during protests, you know, people were like using water hoses and different type of things to stop us from protesting. It's just taking me back to that time where people were just trying to prevent us from standing up for our rights.
Right.
But I hope that this doesn't prevent people. I hope this still encourages people to get out in these streets in a safe way and protest for what they believe.
Right.
So I want to move on to another topic, taking it back to COVID. California could be, and it's no longer could, the answer is, they are the next on the list to drop a lot of their mask mandates. So, you know, throughout the years, people have been getting vaccinated. There's some states that never shut down in the first place, a lot of states in the South, Georgia, Florida, Texas. But a lot of states where they did have a lot of restrictions, like California, those strict restrictions are finally coming to an end as their numbers are at the lowest that they've been in over a year. They no longer have to keep track of it following the different tiers, you know, the red tier, the yellow tier, the orange tier. And now, if you're fully vaccinated, the CDC and in the state of California, they are saying that you can actually enter into a closed environment without your mask. And if you aren't vaccinated, then they just tell you to take your own precaution. They still advise you to wear a mask. They still advise you to socially distance. But if you're vaccinated, you now have free reign to live your life. Are you excited about the restrictions being lifted? Does this make you a little bit more nervous since everyone isn't vaccinated? What are your
I'm gonna wear my
thoughts?
mask. Okay, I'm
Either way.
gonna have my mask on. I have a mask in every different sequence, color,
we believe
pattern, print.
Oh, we believe
And I done
you.
spent all this month, about $1,000 on masks. So I'm gonna wear these masks.
You're gonna get this mask.
I'm
Right,
gonna
you're
get
gonna
these
get this
masks
mask
in everywhere
today
I
and
go.
tomorrow.
And I think for me, okay, so today I went into Starbucks. And Starbucks had on their window, it was up to you. If you're vaccinated, it's up to you whether you want to wear a mask. I walked in, I had my mask in my hand. Everybody in Starbucks still had their mask on. So I put mine on, went into another, like a little 99-cent dollar store really quick, and walked in there, and like the signs that everybody had to have a mask. So it's depending on the businesses whether
It
or
does
not
depend on the business.
Yeah,
yes.
whether or not you want to wear a mask. But I think that here in the state of California, I think people still are not ready, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But it's weird because when I walk into a restaurant, I don't know, for some reason, I feel a little bit more comfortable having my mask off in a restaurant opposed to a store.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we walk in and everybody already has their mask off. They're sitting down there eating and stuff.
I feel like it's confusing. I think everybody's confused about the mask thing because some establishments you do have to wear it, others you don't have to wear it. But also, how do we know if the people who aren't wearing them are actually vaccinated or not? I'm pretty sure if there's a police officer around, they're going to ask you for your verification. But if you're not wearing your mask, I mean, I can assume you're being honest about having your vaccination, but we just don't know, especially when we talk about going out.
Are they asking people for vaccination cards at
So
places?
no, and I know we're going to cover this later on at a different point in time, but there are reports going on. We're still gathering the information, but there are reports that the country, United States, is not going to require mask mandates. Like, they're not going to ask you about your vaccinations. They're not doing any of that, which is leaving the door open for third parties to come on.
But that's
and
so weird
kind of
because I was
regulate
reading
it.
a lot of articles about there's like several organizations and businesses in Texas where employees are walking out because businesses now are requiring their employees to be vaccinated. And a lot of employees are saying, well, why should I have to get vaccinated if, you know, the vaccinations aren't even, the FDA has not even approved the vaccinations. Let's start there. The FDA, I fully support vaccinations. I think people should be vaccinated. But the FDA has not approved any of the vaccinations yet. So why are organizations and companies making people get vaccinated if the FDA has not approved the vaccination?
Well, you know, it takes the FDA
It takes a long
forever
time
to approve anything. You know, we did a story not too long ago about them approving Alzheimer's medicine. It had been the first time since 2003 that they finally approved some new medication. So there are a lot of supplements that some of us that work out take, and it says on the bottle, this has not been approved by the FDA because of the simple fact that it takes the FDA so freaking long to make a decision.
But to me, like, how are you requiring, and just taking it back, just thinking about why are people requiring people to get vaccinations if it's not approved by the FDA? I think that's why I feel like the U.S. is kind of staying out of it. And that's where they're allowing companies and organizations to kind of, it's up to you and your company or organization whether or not you want to require people to wear masks, people to get vaccinated.
I just don't know. I feel like either way, whether you're an establishment who is requiring people to wear masks or not, we've completely stopped the whole stop the spread thing then?
Exactly. That's what makes it confusing.
I'm confused.
It doesn't just disappear
It
like
doesn't.
that. It's still the same virus that it was 6 months ago, same virus that it was 8 months ago, same virus that it was a year ago.
And y'all, we don't even know, when we got our vaccinations, they didn't even tell us whether we would have to get this vaccination again
like
in
a
6
booster.
months
Right.
or whether we would have to get it again in a year. They never said that. They said, literally when they gave me my vaccination, I said, when will I have to get this again? It was like, we don't know yet.
I mean, it's still being discovered, but one thing we do know is that we'll be right back right after this. Y'all keep it locked. More Talk It Up. Hey, y'all, welcome back to Talk It Up. Let's get real quick. These are some conversations that require a little bit more depth, a little bit more discussion. I know a lot of people are talking about these at their kitchen table. And this story really caught my eye. Christian Eriksen, he suffered cardiac arrest while he was on the soccer field. So, you know, he plays, I believe, for Denmark. They were playing against Finland not too long ago. And in the middle of this game, he had a cardiac arrest. And luckily, they were able to revive him after what they called the first defib. They abbreviated defib. They said that they got him back after one. So it was quite fast. He wasn't unconscious for that long. But it did take him out of the game, for those of you that care. Denmark did end up losing as a result. What do you think about this? Like, he was only 29?
He is only 29.
I'm sorry, he's still here. He's only 29.
Yeah.
And when you think about cardiac arrest, heart attacks, anything in that lane, you usually think older. He's young.
He is young. You think older and you think about somebody maybe who was born with some sort of heart condition who's more prone to have this happen to them. But I was reading up on it, and apparently athletes who do extreme sports or just sports in general are more prone to have this happen. He's not the first, they call him footballer or soccer player, to have this happen to them on the field. So it's scary, and I think it scared his teammates because they all do the same sport.
Yeah. Right.
So I would be afraid, like, oh, this can happen to me too.
I know that they have to have like annual checkups and physicals, but I wonder, is this now, they should create the conversation of these physicals maybe being monthly for a lot of these athletes, because they're putting in so much work on the field and off the field. These athletes are training. It's no telling what type of supplements and diets and stuff that they're on. And I think that their bodies need to be like checked up on like more, opposed to every 6 months, like every month.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of scary to think that at 29 years old, that he can fall unconscious and pretty much die on the field and they have to bring him back. I wonder what else, you know. And I also wonder if it scared from his teammates. Did it make them want to go get checkups and stuff like that?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. When you said that a lot of sports, especially extreme sports, sports where people are high-intensity sports, if you will, I did not realize that they were more likely to suffer from cardiac episodes than anyone else. But if you think about the pre-workouts, when you think about the supplements, you think
Yes.
about, you know, racing your heart up only to have to slow it back down, like all of those different things, I'm sure.
And then how many Red Bulls are they probably taking to make it through, you know, work after workouts, just to get through press or get through certain situations in life? So
Right.
that type of stuff it wears on your body.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you definitely have to be careful of. We definitely wish him well and a speedy recovery. Y'all keep it locked. More Talk It Up right after this. Hey, welcome back to Talk It Up. We're still in the middle of our Real Talk segment. I want to get your guys' opinion on the story that I introduced earlier, which is that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's a Democrat from New York, she's agreeing with Representative Jones from New York as well, and they just both agree that the 82-year-old Associate Justice should retire. What are your thoughts?
I think that there should be an age limit on these Supreme Court justices. Reason being, we see something that happened last year. Right before number 45 got out of office, Supreme Court Justice Ruth passed away. Years prior, when Obama was in office, they asked her to retire so that Obama could be the one to replace her. Mm-hmm. She said no. She did social media videos of her lifting weights and working out to show the people that she was still strong. But she was also really, really elderly, and it was time for her to go. She stuck it out. She seemingly passed away right at the end of number 45's term. Therefore, he was able to get somebody in there really, really quickly. I feel like the Supreme Court justices need to understand something. When it's your time and it's your party that's in office, just leave, bow out gracefully. I think there should be an age limit, 75. At 82 years old, times have changed so many different times since you've been had that position. You can't really vote on something, and then base it off of you practicing law 45 years ago. I think that we need younger people in these positions, and I think it should be an age cap of 75.
Yeah, I definitely think that when you hit a certain age, you don't relate. Like, you can't relate.
You can't relate.
And it's not.
I don't expect you to.
Yeah, you just you can't, because you're in a totally different
older.
age. You're older. You're older, literally. So I agree.
They're coming after you. Go ahead.
What?
I just think that it makes sense. It makes sense for us to want a younger, liberal person in that position. It just makes sense.
So I'm slightly torn. I know quite a few people, some of my favorite people in the world, some of my mentors, they're all elderly, and they're still sharp, and they still give the best advice. And, those that have been here longer, they know better, and they're still trying to pass along their wisdom and everything. I also realize that with the Supreme Court, you have to be impartial. So I can't come into this, if I am a Democrat in my private life, I'm not really bringing that to the table. I'm judging every case as it comes to my courtroom. But then also, if you remember, when Ginsburg stayed in, there was another justice whose name I don't remember, because that particular justice passed away at the end of Obama's term. Mm-hmm. And while he was still president, the the Republicans, more specifically McConnell, he blocked any passage of putting anybody in that place, which technically kind of goes against the rules of the Constitution, but that's a whole other story. So my point is, they're always going to find a way to block. So does it really matter when people leave?
Now,
because
we have the White House for additionally 40 years now, 4 more years from now. And so if he retires, they have enough time to revote and cast and put somebody else in that position. They have more time to kind of push somebody through. They cannot wait on this and then in 2024 or 2020, at the end of 2023, if God forbid this justice passes away, then what are they going to do then? More likely it's going to get blocked, because the Republicans don't play no games. They play dirty.
So why can't we just have, because when the person passed away at the beginning, it was like when is that election? 2012? So at the beginning of 2012, a particular justice, I think Scalia is that his name, passed away, and it was time for Obama to replace. The election wasn't until November. They blocked it. That was like 8 to 9 months of them blocking. Yeah. The person in the middle of Trump's time passed away like 2 months before the election, and they still managed to let him put somebody in there. So my point is, who's to say if somebody passed away tomorrow, God forbid, that they won't play politics as normal and prevent the sitting president with 3 years left in his presidency from putting somebody in, because they've proven before that we will do whatever we need to do to stop you from doing that.
Well, that's why I said at this point in time, I feel like they need to put an age limit on it. At 75, you should go retire. Like, enjoy the rest of your life. Take that pension.
And go
have a good time.
Go on a vacation.
75? That's still kind of young. Okay, moving on.
But to have government benefits at 75, you're going to live a nice life.
Moving on. Well, we still got a slight little bit of time. A second man was charged in the shooting of a British Black Lives Matter activist, Sasha Johnson, in London. So I went through this story. I saw this story. It really pissed me off. What did you guys think real quick about this particular story because it's happening everywhere.
Yeah, it pissed me off too because she is fighting for our rights as Black people. And if I'm not mistaken, the people who were taken into custody, or the person that was taken into custody, was also a Black man. So it just doesn't make any sense. In the way that she passed away, she was shot in the head, I believe, at a party. So she didn't see it coming at all, obviously. And so my heart breaks for her.
Same thing. It really bothers me that we have these wonderful advocates that are advocating for our community and our rights, and people are taking them out one by one. It's like scary. It's very, very scary.
Ridiculous. Well, with that, y'all, we definitely need to wish her family well. Our condolences are with you, and we'll be right back with more Talk It Up. Y'all keep it locked. Hey, y'all, welcome back to Talk It Up. So, I want to pick Jay Lamar's brain a little bit. He's our resident dating and relationship expert here. So we talk a lot on the show, or at least we used to talk about dating and love and all of those things, and how do you do that in the middle of a pandemic? Well, now, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of the restrictions are lifting. We're able to go out and socialize, and day parties are a thing again, and people are out here in these streets. You hear me? So how does one date post-pandemic?
I think that you still use the dating apps. I feel like dating apps saved a lot of people during the pandemic because we still seen a lot of people in relationships. We still seen a lot of people get married. Some people got married quicker than others because they were finally able to really get to know a person without the distractions of day-to-day normal life. So I still think that we should use dating apps to get to know people. But now we have the opportunity of sharing like personal, in-person experiences with people. So opposed to before, I feel like during the pandemic, a lot of people probably did like park dates. Or if they went somewhere, they had to wear their mask and they weren't able to like hold hands or do anything intimate. I feel like now you're able to finally go to a restaurant, have a dinner, the movies are back open. You're able to do those type of fun dates. Whoa, what's wrong with the movie?
Listen,
you're not ready for that.
Keep talking.
You're not ready for
I'm
that?
not ready for public, like big publics as much as I love people. I love big crowds and just being out there, but...
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, have you guys felt this way yourselves, or have friends talked to you about not really knowing how to communicate as well as they were able to before the pandemic? Because I feel like some people have almost forgotten how to be social with people, let alone date anybody.
I feel like we have had the past year to communicate virtually. So I do feel like now in-person conversations are a little bit like we're taking it back a couple steps. Like, hey, my name is, opposed to the text thread, what's up? So my name's Jay Lamar, what's up? Now I think it is kind of different for people because now they have to talk to each other face to face. But I think it's something that you can work on. I always recommend people work on their dating speeches or like their first encounters with people in the mirror. Like take a mirror. Yes. Absolutely. Like,
you wouldn't do it?
No,
Yeah.
I gotta practice in the mirror on how to speak to someone.
There-
like,
Yeah,
to
that's
speak
a-
But
to
there
a-
are people who are, everybody's not a Tyler Tyson.
You're right.
Everybody can't.
Everybody.
There's
Everybody
only
can't unbutton their shirt 3 buttons and walk up to somebody and get a man or a
Easy.
woman. Some people have to, do a little practice. I always recommend people pull up a mirror and have a conversation with yourself in a mirror. I think that creates conversation skills. I feel like that also gives you a boost of confidence because you kind of walk into it kind of with a script. Like, I know what to say. I know how to approach them.
Wow, that's a lot. That's just so much work.
Why dating stresses Tyler
It
out?
stresses me out. Listen, my life is so stress-free that when you add another task and now you're telling me I gotta practice in the mirror just so I can sit down and have dinner with you, that's too much.
Tyler, I mean, you have to do it. You can't be 50 and still single.
I'm not gonna be 50 and still single, but I also need to practice
Slip
on
that in
dating.
there.
Like, come on. And with that said, Joe, we'll be right back with more Talk It Up. Y'all keep it locked. Hey, y'all, welcome back to Talk It Up. So I'm really excited about our next interview. He is the star, one of the stars of the NBT original, Arnold's Caribbean Pizza. He's also an actor, producer, a lyricist, and he's here at the Talk It Up table for the first time. Y'all give it up for Mr. Courtney Nevers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Respect.
Welcome to the table. So Tyler has our first question.
Yeah, so welcome to the table, like Tyler said. He named off a bunch of things that you do here in the entertainment industry. How did you get started doing all these things?
Well, as far as music is concerned, you know, we all grew up in Jamaica beating whole pots and pans in the backyard, making music. And once I got to school, started going to early school, I started to listen to people like Johnny Ringo. These are old-time DJs that toast on the mic. Johnny Ringo, you had Michigan, you had Smiley, Mama Kojak and Lizak, so they all inspired me to want to do this entertainment thing. Then I came to the United States, I think, 1982, went to school, went to the military after school, came across a group of Jamaicans who wanted to do music, so we formed a rap group, rap reggae group called Maximum Security. And, went and we did a lot of talent shows. We won all the talent shows.
Of course.
Then once I got out of the military, I decided to stay in California.
And here you are.
And here I am.
So at what age did you fall in love with music? Because I know all of us can remember the first time we heard one of our first hip-hop beats or R&B beats. At what age did you fall in love with music?
Well, really and truly is what? The age 9. Age 9, when I start hearing this, what was that? Big Youth. I hear those old DJs, and it was very fascinating to me. So, and my father was a record collector. He had all Bob Marley stuff, all these great singers' products. So I used to just play music in the evening time and listen to them, and it kind of, motivated me to want to be the entertainer that I am today.
That's dope. So tell us a little bit about the music group that you started. You started a rap group while you were in the military. How did that even happen? And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, how that started is most of the time when our ship deploys, it's deployed for like 6 months at a time. And, during our spare time not working, we set up our turntables and, they sing music and play music. And, a lot of people come out, and when we perform, people was digging it, So therefore, I got together with my friend, his name is Prophecy, and he had Mahad Mahan, Article T, and we all came together and created a group with this other guy called Tim Dog, like 4 of us. And once I got out of the military, we started, doing shows around Oakland, the Bay Area.
Bay Area. Bay Area stand up.
You know what I mean? And we was losing the contest. So I think at one point, Paris wanted to sign me.
Oh.
And said to do one single, and if it did well, then we could do an album. But I was with, at that time, I just met Money B from Digital Underground.
Okay.
And Sloot, he got Sloot, his manager, to manage me. You know what I mean? So Sloot, right. Yeah. And so he came to me and he was giving me this information. And, he asked me, do I want to try it? I said, yes, but I don't know what the complication was that made it didn't go through. You know what I mean? But
that's the music.
That's how it is. But it's always something.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you still got to keep going.
Yeah, but I kept on moving with Maximum Security until that broke up. Then I started doing it by myself. Then I went into this other group called Product of the Environment, PODE.
Okay.
Port Ville
How
Man.
many of us was in this group?
This group is just me and one other guy.
Cool. Okay.
But then it was a whole lot of other guys that was involved also. You know what I mean? And, we just work on it until we came to a stage where we start doing our own thing.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's how it is sometimes, especially when you get smaller with your groups. It makes it a little bit easier to manage. But anyway, we have more with Courtney Nevers. Y'all keep it locked to MBT and to Talk It Up. Welcome back to Talk It Up. We are here with one of the stars from Arnold's Caribbean Pizza, Courtney Nevers. And Tyler, I think you had our next question.
I do. So while we're on the topic of music, a little birdie told us that at some point you linked up with Tupac. Talk to us about how that happened.
Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Bay Area, but back in the days, it used to be like reggae music 7 days a week. So there's a lot of clubs, Caribbean City, Uptown, Club Dread, you name it. At one of these nights, I was at Uptown, You know, so we was just doing a little freestyle on the mic, and it turned out that Money B was there. You know, so once I got through, he told me that he liked what I was doing and he would like for me to do some work with him. So he invited me like the next week over to his home, and there I met Tupac. You know, so they wanted to cook some food, so I cooked some brown stew chicken and stuff for him, and we sat down and we talked. But anyway, you know, at the time I was practicing at this downtown on 20th Street at this place called the Practice Pad. So we invited them down. So Shock G came, Money B, Tupac, and DJ Fuse. So, you know, when they came in, you know, I was on the mic and I was just singing songs after songs after songs. So it's like, once I got through, he called me and said, how did you manage to do that without, don't spit get in your mouth? You know, I said, no, not really, you know, because, you know, I kind of been doing it for a while. So it's like, usually I have to smoke some weed or something to, you know, to get the spit out of my mouth. So how do you do it? So I said, you have to start singing from the bottom of your stomach. So, you know, I know you guys heard one of the first songs he did was All Around the World, the same song.
Yeah.
And, you know, his voice was small, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I did was I said, okay, just get on the mic and I'm going to show you. So once he's singing, I hold him by his back and push his stomach. When I push his stomach, his voice got big. And he stopped and started smiling. I said, that's how you do it. You know what I mean? You got to sing from the bottom of your stomach. And then I taught him this thing called fire breath, you know, where you pump your stomach to build your diaphragm. And, you know, I said, try to do it as much time as you can. And that's it. And
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he
That's
probably never
awesome.
forgot that.
Yeah.
I doubt it. Every time I see him, he's happy with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, Tupac was never really the type of guy to be boisterous at times. You know, he's always kind of quiet, subtle. You know, you often see him off in a corner by himself. But when he gets ready to be unruly, he gets really unruly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that.
And you know, it's been a lot of times with him hanging out and, you know, just doing the thing. You know what I mean? I was supposed to do some songs, but we never got around to it because he got bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The icon.
Yeah.
I feel like you should have been like the Tupac movie. They should have had you in there teaching him how to make his voice bigger.
Yeah, well, you know, the truth is nobody knows this story.
They know now. They know now.
They know it now, but they didn't know it before, so.
Right.
So how did you
That's
get
pretty
into acting, you know, transitioning from music to acting?
Well, that's another story. How that worked was, you know, I have a friend called Raskidas, and he was, you know, he found out about Trent's movie, Rude Boy Jamaican Dan, when I think this was probably the end of 1999 going into 2000. You know, they hooked up with Trent and Desmond Gump and, you know, the 3 Gs, you know what I mean? And, you know, pretty much he invited me to come, you know, said maybe I can get a part, you know. I've never really acted before, you know, so I went there and, you know, they gave me the script and we're sitting around the table and, you know, I mean, you know, when I get the script, I'm like, and it's my time, I'm like, well, come on now.
Uh-oh.
So, you know, once we got through with that, the lead actor, he called me this and I said, come here, man. Asked me a few questions, and I answered it. He said, you see the way you did that? I said, yeah, that's what you got to do. Normal conversation. It's okay, no problem. And then I kept reading, and then I come back the next day, I read, you know. Then one day, Desmond came to me and said, hey, keep it up, man, you just might get the part. You know, I kept on doing it until they gave me the part. And, you know, since then, I've been hanging out with Trent, and, you know, whenever he called me, I'm here.
Yes.
I mean,
That's how it starts.
That's how it starts.
Literally.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Melvin on Arnold's Caribbean Pizza. Tell me about this character that you play.
Melvin. Well, Melvin is a kind of stand-up, straightforward type of a guy. And, you know, his cousin comes to live with him after he got kicked out of his house with his woman. And just pretty much just come to turn up Melvin's life upside down, you know. So now Melvin is looking just as silly as he is. You know? But apart from that, Melvin is a upstanding guy, you know what I mean, you know, straightforward, you know what I mean, does his job, do everything on time. Only time he messes up is when Winston come into the picture.
Let me tell you, that Winston sets him up every time.
Every time. Always trying to take my apartment. You know what I mean? Raining on my parade every step of the
We all
way.
got a cousin like that.
Right.
Dude,
We all got a
a bunch
Winston.
of them.
A bunch of them.
So Liz, I don't want you to go anywhere. We're going to play a game with you. So you stay right here and y'all keep it locked. We have more Talk It Up right after this. welcome back to Talk It Up. Courtney is still here with us, and we're going to play a quick little game with you. We like to play games with our guests. So you're brave enough to stick around. You're brave enough to play this game. So let's get into it. It's called Best Tipper. We're going to throw a couple celebrities at you, and we just want you to think, who, if they came into Arnold's Caribbean Pizza, who do you think would tip more?
All right.
And we'll give you a couple options. Tyler, you can start us off.
Okay.
Let's do it.
The first pair, either Beyonce or Rihanna.
Beyonce or Rihanna. Who would tip the best?
Who would tip the best?
Hold on. Let me sort it out in my mentals right now. Sort it out. Not because she's so gorgeous or anything, but Beyonce.
Yeah, that's hard because they both, you know.
Yeah.
I think they both would do great.
If you think about Rihanna, she's from Barbados, so you don't think she would be like more. She would feel.
Listen,
I
Rihanna
guess
would probably
she's
go
at
back
home.
there in the back and make the
Probably.
pizza with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Rihanna.
that's true.
Rihanna might tell me to get out of her face.
That's true.
Right.
She's
She's from Barbados, I'm from Jamaica. She just might say, hey,
Yeah.
you know.
As president of the Beehive, I too think Beyonce would be a better tipper.
You know you're president.
I am president of the Los Angeles branch.
You
We talk
never
about
know
that.
who's at the table.
Tyler Perry or Will Packer?
Will Packer or Tyler Perry. My God, man. You guys are just sticking me in my side. Maybe Tyler Perry. I think Tyler Perry, he seemed like the type of person who would be a big tipper.
And cash too. I bet you it's cash.
$1,000.
Right. I'm going a safer route with mine. They were both here at this table not too long ago. Jeffrey Gunter or Mark Anthony Williams. Both of your co-stars from Arnold's Caribbean Pizza. Who's going to be the better tipper?
None of them.
Oh, well.
No, just kidding. Let me think about it. Jeffrey Gunter seems to be a pretty nice guy. Mark is a pretty nice guy himself too. What do you think?
Well, you know what? Mark is funnier, so I got a feeling like he would like leave like a funny tip. Like
funny tip.
funny tip, like
Funny, like
Like-
a note.
a little note and like $5.
Oh.
But Jeffrey,
I feel like Jeffrey's going to change your life.
Yeah.
And leave you like a really nice tip.
I feel like Jeffrey gonna leave you with a word,
Word.
He can leave you
some
with a few
encouragement,
things.
and then slide you a 50. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
That's
I
how
would
it is.
take that.
50. Yeah, I think Mark, don't trip, boss. But I'm going with Mr. Gunter.
Going with more.
Going with
Alright.
Mr. Gunter.
Now, would you choose Snoop Dogg or Ice Cube? It's a good one.
He would say it now, but I even.
Well, on TV, Snoop look like he's the cool guy that will be, he'll give you a nice tip. I think Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg will give you a good tip.
Monique or Tiffany Haddish?
My God. Monique or Tiffany. I'm just gonna jump out there and say Tiffany.
I would choose Tiffany.
I would choose Monique, but I feel like Monique too would leave you with
A word.
a word. Baby, this ain't what you're supposed to do.
You're right.
That's not what you're supposed to do.
But
Let
you
me
getting
someone
there.
see you. Yeah.
Well, I give tips. I give
That
tips.
part. Well, let's,
Let me tell you a tip.
please.
Try not to cross the road when you see a bus coming. You might get hit. That's a tip.
Noted.
That's a tip.
Listen, I was ready for something life-changing or a little cash.
That is life changing.
It
You can apply that to life.
Definitely.
Well, let's take it to the Kings of Comedy real quick.
Okay.
If you have Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer, who's going to tip you a little bit better?
I think Cedric the Entertainer.
Really?
You don't think so?
Yeah, actually, I would agree.
Yeah. Cedric
I
the
would agree.
Entertainer.
No.
He's a
I
little
think
more humble.
Steve.
Steve is gonna
think
give
Steve
he's gonna
would?
give you a look.
A look and a tip.
He probably has more to tip.
You get a look from Steve. I think you'll get a tip from Cedric.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cedric.
Well, listen, I want you to tell our audience where they can get all things Courtney, where they can follow you on social media, they can keep up with music, anything that you're doing. Where can they get this information?
Well, truthfully speaking, I'm not in the media.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just
Sounds
kidding.
like
Courtney Nevers on Instagram, Courtney and the Privilege on Facebook. You know, apart from that, if you want to get the products that I have out, like the songs that I'm producing, TuneCore.
Okay, there we go. That's what we needed right there.
Yep.
TuneCore.
Well, listen, we want to thank you, sir, for stopping by our table. You all make sure that you check out Arnold's Caribbean Pizza, airing right now on NBT. Check your local listings, and we'll be right back with more Talk It Up.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Talk It Up. Before you go, I got one more hot story to drop in your lap. We love biopics here at this show, and we were just talking about this many shows ago. But Bernie Mac, there is allegedly a biopic in the works, possibly, for the late comedian Bernie Mac. You guys know he's one of the kings of comedy. His daughters are actually overseeing this. Janice McCullough, who is one of his daughters, she is made a comment to TMZ saying that they are looking at a couple of actors. There's one in particular that they really think would make a great Bernie Mac. His name is Aldous Hodge. I don't know him. I'm not really familiar with his work, but they said that he has a skin complexion and he's a comedian or he has some funny timing, so they really think he would make a great Bernie Mac in a biopic. What do you think?
I think it's amazing that they even consider the skin tone because we've seen biopics
That Michael Jackson one. Remember that one?
biopics and or documentaries where they didn't consider that at all and it made people really upset. So I like that she mentioned that. And also, I know that she wanted to make sure that whoever they chose captures the essence of Bernie Mac because he had an amazing personality and presence. So all of those things matter when you're trying to figure out who to choose.
I definitely think with doing these biopics, I hope that they really talk to some of his closest friends like Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, Jamie Foxx, people like that. So I feel like I'm so excited the family is a part of it because the daughters can tell a story that we may not have seen or heard of. But then I also want to see what Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey, and people like that. I want to see their input in like who Bernie Mac was when he wasn't at home with his kids.
Yeah.
And then also I kind of want to see Cedric, Steve Harvey, Jamie Foxx. I kind of want to see them in the biopic too. Because they were a part of his comedy career as well.
So you want to see the actual actors, not actors playing.
Yeah, I want to actually see them in it.
That's
That would be
interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
So one thing about Mr. Hodge, who I said I'm not familiar with his work, he wasn't Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, he was.
He also just finished playing Jim Brown in the biopic One Night in Miami. So he has biopic experience.
Yeah.
Which I think could come in handy. So I'm not mad at this. I love the idea, even though I'm not that familiar, I'm familiar enough. I like to see like a unknown take on a big role and let that role be what makes them, as opposed to taking like an A-list celebrity and trying to forget that they're this A-list celebrity and that they're this other person that they're trying to be.
And then Bernie Mac's death kind of hit hard with the comedy community because it was so sudden. And I remember when I seen it, I was like, Bernie Mac ain't gone. He can't be gone.
He had a hit TV show.
He had a hit TV show and everything, so it's kind of shocking.
Yeah, and I feel like this past, year or two has been the few years of biopics. Like, it just seems like there's one after the other. The other day we were talking about Tiffany Haddish doing one. So it's just, they're just rolling them out now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, there's so many stories to be told. And like you said earlier, whether they're alive or not, I just feel like a lot of these stories need to be told.
Yeah.
And somebody I think he's an icon. And probably in the comedy world, a lot of people look at him as a comedic legend. But I just think he has such a great story. I can't wait. And I don't even know all of it. So I can't wait to see how they actually tell it, who does get casted, and for what angle they decide, things that they decide to highlight, things that they don't. All of those I'm interested in because Bernie Mac was a G.
He was.
Yes.
Rest in peace to the late, great Bernie Mac. And with that, y'all, we want to thank Courtney Nevers for stopping by. Make sure you guys check out Arnold's Caribbean Pizza streaming right now on NBT. And thank you so much for tuning in to Talk It Up. And we will see y'all for another amazing episode of Talk It Up.